Cisco Morning Huddle with Coach Brett West. I'm Lee Lewis. We're live here at First Financial Bank on Conrad Hilton in beautiful Cisco, Texas. Thanks for listening in. If you're close by, drop in cookies, coffee. And we have started the Food Bowl 2014. There is a container here at First Financial Bank. There's one in Eastland as well, trying to garner up 1,920 pounds of food to share with Meals on Wheels, Cisco Senior Nutrition, and food banks around this part of our county. So if you drop in, bring some food with you, drop it in there. Non-perishable food items will be taken, and I believe that's going to run for all the rest of this week, next week, and leading up to the game with Eastland. And they'll announce how much was collected at that time. Just a little friendly competition. I think you can take it also to the elementary school. They're both taking that as well. So bring it in. We'd appreciate it. I know it's going to a good cause. So thanks again for listening to the Cisco Morning Huddle. Last week, the Lobos celebrated homecoming in style with a big victory over the Millsap Bulldogs. That score was 51-0. Coach West over again. And tell everyone how your staff felt coming off the win last week against Millsap.
It was a good victory, and we stayed healthy in the process of it. You know, they came out in that slot tee, something we hadn't seen in a while. I thought we did a pretty good job defending it. The first few drives, we didn't line up correctly to the unbalanced. We got it fixed very quickly, and from that point on, as long as we were lined up right, I thought we did a pretty good job of stopping the 4-yard gain. They had a good plan. I think they're a well-coached football team. Let me say that, because I know they're going to take some criticism for some losses, but that Coach Coker's done a very good job. He just simply didn't have the speed to be able to move the ball against our defense. Coach Brunson had another great plan and did a great job of stopping what they did best. Offensively, I thought we were explosive. I thought Massey had another good game. We were able to get the ball to Hoover a few times and to Callahan in the passing game, and I felt like we improved.
All right, it was a good game, a big win, and congratulations to you guys. Overall, I think coming out without the injuries is always good. Change the topic just a little bit. Last year, you guys had to turn to a young man at quarterback that hadn't been able to start in a few years because he had one in front of him. But Colton Kent came in last year, did a wonderful job, led the team to a state championship, won offensive MVP of the state championship game. This year, you guys had to bring in another new quarterback. It's his first go. I think Taylor last started on the JV as a freshman. He's been doing great here of late. I think the last 4 games, he's completed 31 of 38 passes for just short of 700 yards, I believe, and 11 touchdowns. Is he coming along like you see too? I mean, obviously he's a talent. He's growing in the position, but the other thing about all those stats is most of that, I think with the exception of the Henrietta game, all those passes were found just in the first half.
He is growing, and he had a couple of games early in the year that made him grow up in a hurry. That Breckenridge team put some pressure on him. They're obviously a good football team, and then he's going the wall and having to play. Team that played in the state championship the year before in Division I. That was good for him, and he struggled. I mean, and struggles need to come. He struggled the first 2 weeks. He gained some confidence. I thought the Comanche game was his breakout game. He gained a lot of confidence. He used his feet much better. He made great decisions. I took a little off his shoulders after those first 2 weeks, and now we're starting to add some things back to his shoulders as he's gained confidence and he's gotten a little better. But we're very pleased. You know, those stats, those passing stats, are real similar to what Colton Kent was able to do last year. We didn't throw the ball very much, but when we did, it would hurt you. It was for a touchdown. You know, I think last week Taylor threw for 4 touchdowns. Although we didn't throw the ball very many times, maybe 9 or 10 times, they need to be able to hurt. And I think Taylor's at that point now where he's becoming a little more dangerous.
No, I think last week he finished up. He threw 9 passes, completed 8. 4 of those were touchdowns, 147 yards and no picks. So I know the no pick part is always a good thing.
Exactly, and we started the year out throwing a few, but those picks are going to come. And we know that. You put the ball in the air and there's an opportunity for it to be picked off. But he's making better decisions with that. He's getting picked off. It's a great play by the defender. And first few weeks were mistakes that he made, and I think from this point on, he will improve. He's seen his mistakes, and he's understanding the game of football much better than he did against Wall, Texas.
How much of the credit too should the offensive line
I'll be back in the store in a little bit.
It's not an entirely new group, but some injuries you've had to kind of flip-flop that lineup this year up front.
We certainly haven't had issues getting the ball off. And the mistakes that we have had, the pressure that has come into Massey's been our backfield. You know, we chewed on them against Henrietta. We protected Taylor very well that week, with exception to our fullback and tailback, who had to take some criticism in video on Saturday. But our O-line has done a wonderful job thus far on protection. Coach White's done a great job with them, and he simplifies that. He makes it fairly easy for them. But you're right. We've had some folks that have had to come in that haven't had too many reps in those areas, such as Silas at center, that's done an amazing job for the reps that they've taken.
All right, you talked about health. I think it seems to be improving. Saw some guys in practice this week that hadn't been able to in a while. Talk about the overall health of the team right now.
It is getting better. Cole Scott's going to play this week. You know, he's had those bruised ribs. We gave him a few weeks off. He's probably just going to play defense tonight, but he will probably take every defensive rep. CDU is a spread team. They're going to speed it up, and we need someone like Cole to be able to take every defensive rep. And I'm going to try not to use him much offensively this week, more than anything, just for depth issues, just to be fresh as we can. But we're certainly glad he's back. Jed Vaughn took some reps at center this week. Probably won't use him tonight. We're going to suit him up. He's there just in case. But the Wednesday practice, we gave him about 10 reps, and he looked fine.
Wagner had an ankle. Is that what it was?
He did. He re-injured that ankle, and he's going to suit up tonight. He's one of those two that we're going to attempt not to play. He is the only backup tackle we have this week, so we're hoping that we don't have to use him, but he is there as a just in case.
Okay, so getting better, and then maybe we find out some good news about Mina next week.
Yes, sir.
All right, there you have it. Right now we're going to step away from the mic. First segment from Cisco Morning Huddle here at First Financial Bank in Cisco. Stop on by. Got a couple segments yet to go. Coach West, before we get into last night's action with the sub-varsity teams, let's talk a little bit about last week's action in District 2-3A Division 2. Eastland again comes away with a very big win for them. Holiday 42-0 with a new quarterback. Henrietta got another win as they defeated Jacksboro 48-14. And City View beat up on Tacoma 47-7. Everything, I guess, probably in y'all's eyes went pretty much as expected.
It did. You know, none of that was surprising at all. I think it was really one of those weeks where that was probably going to happen no matter what. This is the important week and some good games out in the area. You know, our game with City View, of course, is huge. Easton's got a big one with Henrietta, should be a good game. And then you also have Holiday and Jacksboro. And they're both are still fighting for a fourth place. That should be a good matchup. And even the Kona Millsap should be a good matchup. This is the week for the good games, I believe, that we'll see a very interesting Friday night.
Of course, last night, our group took on City View. 7 of the 8th graders had to take another long trip as they go up to City View and then JV entertain them there. We've got some big games. One last night. One really tight one, the other two not quite so much.
Well, that 7th grade pulled out another good victory. Got another shutout at 36-0. Played very, very well. The 8th grade had the big battle at 22-20. That kind of came down to the end. We stopped them on 4th down as they were driving to go win the game. They threw the ball very well. Evidently had a little bit of speed out there at the wide receiver area. But still buckled down, found a way to win. They also had a kickoff return. They kept things close in that game last night. And then the JV played outstanding, won 54-0. I think that was pretty much over at half. I think we were ahead 41-0. Everybody got lots of playing time, got lots of reps under their belt.
Some of those younger kids on the JV too, the freshmen, since you've had to kind of go away from your freshman schedule with injuries and such, some of those guys are stepping up and really starting to play pretty well.
They are, and they got some quality reps yesterday. Got to play the bulk of the second half and ran our offense. They are improving, and that's something, you know, you hate to see a kid just stand there and not get reps on Thursday or even Friday night. And feel like we've given our kids opportunities each week to get as many reps under their belt as possible, even though we have lost that freshman squad. Now, that doesn't always get to happen, but our JV right now and some of those sophomores down there with them are making that team good enough that everybody can kind of get reps the second half. That may not happen in the future, but last night it was able to happen. Those young kids got lots of good reps in under the belt.
I have to throw a bone to Adam Reynolds. He ran the opening kickoff back for a touchdown last night. I can't remember. I'm sure we've probably done that at JV level, and I'm just not remembering how far back that goes, but I don't even think he got touched by anybody on the other team.
I watched that on Huddle this morning, and of course, Reynolds he can run. He's got a pretty good motor too. He got down the sideline, and I believe he was untouched. A great return and a great start for the game. The opening drive was a kickoff return.
Going back to last week, we kind of stay on the same thought with the younger players, but back up to last Friday night against Millsap, you guys were able to bring some guys up for that week to get them some playing time. A lot of them got in pretty much the whole second half. You got to break them down on film. How did you think they performed last week?
Well, that was the original JV backfield. Case Gale at quarterback, you had Beasley there at fullback, and Dalton Cozart at tailback. And those guys have been playing on Thursday and doing a great job down there. We felt like we might have the opportunity to get them some varsity reps Friday, and fortunately we were able to do that. And I thought they performed well. The big issue, I guess, for us is when you throw a sophomore in there with juniors and seniors, is will they mentally compete? Because neither of the three look like varsity kids. They are small, they look like sophomores, but they did compete. That may have been a fumble waiting to happen because of the size and strength, but they got after it. They weren't scared. They executed the offense. Case Gale had a long run on the read power. Dalton Cozart ran up in there hard and got some tough yards. And Cecil, I think, had one carry for 15 or 16 yards. They blocked well. They executed well. And we can't leave out Silas and Robert Belker, two sophomores that got lots of reps as well. And they're improving every single week.
Dylan Brunson got some playing time on defense. I know that he was in on a few tackles, and Cecil got in on some too.
Exactly. They got to play both sides of the ball. And Dylan also had some pretty good blocks from the tight end position. He is a quality tight end. He's got good hands, and we feel like that'll be a position he'll get to slip into next year.
Do you expect, I think this week Silas and Belk are obviously still up. Maybe Case gets to go up again tonight?
We might use Case. Of course, Case is a what if. He may get to play, he may be a backup quarterback tonight. He may be a backup in the secondary, and he can always run down and cover on a kickoff or maybe a kickoff return. So he's that what if skill position that we might need, but he also, the bad thing about having a sophomore up is he may stand there with me and hand me a drink of water on occasion, or he might get in his dad's way or boo on the sideline. But he's somebody that we might accidentally need tonight, and we suited him up yesterday, kind of thought if we could get by without him that we would. It was pretty obvious early in that game that we could win that JV game without him. Maybe have a backup rep or two in tonight's football game.
Well, and there's always a potential that somebody's too tired to run down on the kickoff team. So
exactly, and he's got the speed. He actually did pretty well last week and showed that he might be able to help us in that area. And really, all those sophomores could. I feel like that's something if we do. Or if we are fortunate enough to make the playoffs, and some of those could be utilized on special teams, and Case Gale is definitely one of them.
All right, there you have it. Second segment of the Cisco Morning Huddle at First Financial Bank here in Cisco. Food trophy is up for grabs. We're having Food Bowl is what the powers that be at KATX have named this. So be sure to bring your non-perishable food items by First Financial Bank here or over in Eastland. I believe tomorrow, Megan's Market is going to be giving away or going to give 20% discounts for donations on any item that you purchase there. And she'll have a bin for Cisco and one for Eastland as well. So be sure to stop by there tomorrow. I can't remember what time. I believe there's a remote going on. I'm not going to say a time because I'll probably get it wrong. But keep that in mind tomorrow. Coach West, back to tonight. You guys have a pretty stiff challenge tonight with the City View team that, on the offensive side, is a very explosive team. What do you guys expect is going to take place in City View tonight?
Well, if you look at Texas football on the returning stat leaders, City View has all three of them. They have a quarterback that's thrown for over 1,000 yards. They have the running back that rushed for over 1,000 yards, a receiver with very good stats as well. Then they get a move in from Wichita Falls Rider that they've moved to tailback, and they've moved the running back to a receiver. So they have great talent on the offensive end of things, and behind a really big, physical-looking offensive line. They are a good-looking football team. They have struggled on defense. Now, from what I understand, they've got some kids back that have been hurt. They've made a change. Actually, Eastland, we talked to Coach Watkins from Eastland. They had been running a 3-4 all year long, and they made a change that week to a 4-3. And that's all we've seen them in since that week is a 4-3 and a lot of man-to-man coverage, and they have the athletes that are able to do that. But the big problem, I think, with trying to stop somebody like City View is just they have so many weapons, and they're very good at making you make the open field tackle. Our safeties are going to have to do an outstanding job and they've done it so far. Both our safeties have done a great job at this, but it's going to be a little different athlete that they're trying to tackle this week with some great speed and agility. So just a great challenge for Coach Brunson.
Yeah, it should be a great matchup going to the defensive side. Their offense versus our defense tonight should that not to take anything away from our offense or their defense. But that's the matchup I think everybody's interested in tonight. It's one that should help prepare you guys going forward. I mean, you mentioned the fact that they've got great athletes in different positions. If all goes well, that's got to help you going into the playoffs. If we're fortunate enough to be there. Coach Brunson's defense, I think they've only given up a little less than 40 points. And we've given up more points than that, but the offense helped on a few of those for the whole season. So how big a test do you guys really consider that to be tonight?
Well, it's huge, and just like what you said, hopefully going forward, it's huge. Being able to tackle athletes and stop an offense that can produce quick touchdowns. They have big playability. Well, anybody that you're going to face in a playoff game or a big district game is going to have that type of athlete. So we have seen two teams that were unable to accomplish that the last 2 weeks. And we're about to face one that is amazing at it. I mean, they scored 74 points against Archer City earlier in the year. So they have the ability to score points, and Coach Brunson has a great game plan. I think our boys know that this is definitely a huge game, especially being played in City View, and that they have the opportunity to improve and get better and see a different offense that we hadn't seen in a few weeks that makes us better in the future.
Another long bus trip tonight, and for at least a few weeks after tonight, you guys will have all those long trips in the regular season behind you. Have you noticed? This is, not necessarily off topic, but it's not X's and O's either. Have you guys noticed the extra long travel? Has it affected the team or you guys as a coaching staff in any way?
I was terrified of the long trips until we went to Wall. That was our first one. We had to play a very good Wall football team in Wall, a 2-hour drive in a young school bus, and our boys, it didn't affect them a bit. They played very well in an unfamiliar environment. So I think sometimes I overanalyze that and it worries me, and it does. It's a worry, don't get me wrong, but a mature football team that has been there and done that usually sets that aside. It's those young sophomores and juniors that haven't played in the big game that tends to worry you. But I'm not too concerned with that with this football team. It could bite us in the tail tonight if they're not ready, but hopefully we're mature enough to set that aside and understand that this Wichita Falls City team is good enough to beat the Lobos, and this road trip's not going to be a factor. We're going to stay focused. The bus ride up's going to be focused, and we're going to be real mature about it.
Somebody was joking earlier in the week. It's quite possible that some of your district games you'll have had to travel further than them than maybe some of your playoff matchups.
That's right. That is a possibility. You know, West Texas battles that every year.
Right.
We think we're in a bind because we had to drive 2 hours in the school bus. Live out there at Alpine and Crane. They're driving 3.5 or 4 hours for a district game. So we're crying about it because I hate to travel. But our boys have really handled it better than the coaching staff has.
I think on the flip side of that, everybody in school, at least from the student's perspective, is glad because it seems like every other Friday they're getting out early.
That is kind of nice. It is nice to slip out of there early.
Well, it should be a great game tonight. You guys have your work cut out for you, I suspect. This is just an outsider observation, but I suspect that the defense is going to be fired up for this test tonight. I look forward to seeing how they respond.
Well, I hope they are, because they definitely have a test. And the first few weeks, well, let me just say this. I've had some of them come up to me and know that they were talented, and there's been a different focus in practice. Both our safeties know, and talking to Landon Lewis and Kyler Gale, they both know we're about to put them on an island, and they have been extremely focused this week. They've had some good practices, but they will definitely be put out in an island in several situations tonight where it's I got to make the tackle or they're going to score type island, and that is definitely some pressure. And I don't mind pressure on those two because they played in the big game. They were up 2 seconds last year, and we feel like they're certainly capable of making that open field tackle, not only to save a touchdown, but we're going to ask them to make some open field tackles for losses from the safety position tonight.
I think, remind me if I'm wrong, that's 2:15 is the send-off?
Yes, it is.
And early out at 2:30.
That's correct.
Okay, and that should do it. I want to remind everyone, we will be in City View, Wichita Falls City View at Veterans Field tonight. We'll have a pregame at 7 o'clock. The kickoff will be at 7:30. For those of you traveling, please be safe. You never know. At least there's no chance of hailstorms or anything that we know of tonight, so that's always interesting. But tune in for that. That'll be on 98.5 KWBY, or you can click on KATXradio.com and find the logo and click on the link for that to listen online or on your smartphone or smart device tonight. Stay tuned. Terry Slavens and Coach Cliff Watkins over in Eastland for the morning huddle over there. That's coming up right after this. I want to say thanks to Blake back in the studio for running the board for us. It's Lee Lewis signing off. Everyone have a great weekend.